Hi, my name is Alan Suero, and today I'm going to talk about the relation with the self and with the world and the universe around the self. Just you and me and the world we live in. Okay? So, the first concept about the world and the self is that we are individual human beings that we live in this world, in this earth, and we're completely separate from each other. So you are a complete individual, and the world is a complete different thing, and you're living and navigating through the world with your senses. That's how we perceive the world. So we have the five senses, but it's not only the five senses that we have. We have a sixth sense, which is our mind, our self awareness of our own existence. That's another sense that is never mentioned. They always teach you in school there are only five senses. Completely wrong. What about your awareness of being alive? Your awareness of being a thinking human being, what's going on in your head? That's the most important sense of all. And it's never mentioned. So that is really funny. And that's the way that most people look at the world, as being objects and being completely separate. But there is another way of looking at the world, which is more scientifically proven than that way, which is that the world we live in is a recreation that we recreate in our head. And we're not talking about the Matrix. We're talking about the real world where you're looking right now. It's all going on in your head. And that is scientifically proven easily, because what you look at and what you see right now is a reflection of light that goes through your eyes, then it flips upside down, it's breaking into 1,000 or millions of bits, and then it goes into your head, and then you're able to see this picture and you're able to hear what I'm saying. Okay? So everything that you see, everything that you feel is a recreation of the world around you. We might be seeing the world, and I believe we are seeing a world, but I know everything I see, everything I feel is a recreation, because I have to recreate it in my head. So what is the problem with a recreation? It's not a replica, because if it was a replica, it would be completely objective. Our recreation of the world is biased, because we have our history, we have our experiences from when we're born to the present until we die. And everything we recreate in our minds, and the world we recreate in our minds, is based or is changed, or it has an opinion based on everything we experience. So when we are children and babies, we see the world with complete objectivity. We have no bias, because we have no experiences to base that bias on. Okay? And looking at the world and at our consciousness in this way, it's more real than thinking that we're objects and we're living in a different world, which is not true. Because the whole world is just a recreation of the world itself in our mind. So there are many things we can change about that world that we create. Some things are very hard to change. I'm looking this way, I see a gray car and a blue car. It's different. It's difficult for me to look at the car and change the color of the car. Even though it is a recreation in my mind, it is somehow possible in my imagination to look at the car and imagine it's not gray, imagine it's blue. And look at the car and imagine it's green instead of blue. So I can do that in my imagination. But when I'm recreating the physical world, that's a little bit more difficult. All right? But in the same way, you can change what you imagine. And in the same way, you see an experience in the world and your bias changes that experience from an objective experience into a bias experience. In that same way, you can change that bias experience back into an objective experience. And being aware that this possibility exists, it's an incredible growth in your spiritual and your wisdom awareness. Because now you understand that everything around you is a recreation in your own mind, and that you have bias. And you might have bias because you see something happening and you say, this is so bad. And then it turns out it isn't that bad. And that is because you have bias. Sometimes you think you got a blessing, you got something good, and then it turns out to bring you a whole lot of trouble. So your perception was not right. So we have no real control, or we have no knowledge of how things are going to turn out that we perceive as good or bad. Because most of us cannot tell the future. But we can recognize in the present that our experience in life is biased, so we can be more neutral and more objective, and we don't have to feel super good about something or real bad about something, because feeling super good about something is going to let you down at some point. Or you don't have to feel bad or sad about anything, because that is only a non-objective, a biased recreation of what's really going on in the world. Okay? And how can that help us? Well, that helps you by understanding that if you're recreating everything that happens in the world, you can perceive everything that is happening in that same world you recreate differently. And you can put sadness, stress, anxiety, and depression to the side. Because you're not going to recreate sadness, stress, anxiety, and depression. It's a decision. You have to break from that way of thinking. Tell yourself, I'm going to break from that way of thinking, and I'm going to accept that I can control my world. You may not be able to change it in 1 second or in 2 hours. It may take a few days for you to rationalize it and filter it and let it go through your brain and through your consciousness, and letting go many bias of the past. And that may take some days, but it is your own recreation of the world. You can change most of it. The only things that are more difficult to change is what's really going on your physical world. but it is only a representation of your physical world. Everything is really going on in your head. So when things are abstract, like emotions that then reflect physically as being sad or being anxious or things like that, it's an abstract emotion that physically shows in your body, in your way of behaving, and in the way you feel. You don't feel so good if you're anxious or if you're depressed or you're sad, right? But you're in control of this because you're in control of the world you're recreating. And we need to accept this fact. It's not a theory, it's a fact. Everything you perceive is a recreation of your existence in your own mind. And we have the power to change it and modify it. Maybe not 100%, but about 90%. Because what happens out there is only 10% of the real influence of everything that's going on in our head. 90% of it are things in our own head that we can change our perception of, and we can change our experience of, we can change our emotions of, and our feelings of whatever is happening out there. Okay? So I hope you take something good out of this video, which is knowing that you got the power to change your perception and your experience of life anytime you want. I have a free course called Erase Sadness and Stress from Your Life. There's a link down there for the free course. So I hope I see you in the free course, or I'll see you on my next video.